We trying to get paid.
Making money, make it, dollar
We trying to get
y'all.
paid.
Making money,
Yeah,
make
you
it.
save and invest, stacking up checks. Let's go.
It definitely was the most boring day of trading for the week. Let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lasali Nungu. I am your host, and we're going to talk about 10/16/2020. If you follow me on social media, you know how I trade. I earned $600 for the week playing it safe. I really regret that because I played it too safe, to be honest. On Monday, I scared myself out of a much more lucrative trade, thinking that the market was going to keep exploding higher. But instead, we're back at prices that we were at on September 8th. That's last week, Wednesday, right? That's why I keep telling you guys, holding these directional trades longer than a day right now, especially in ETFs or index options, is really just a waste of time. There are individual stocks doing some amazing things right now, going higher, going lower. That's where guys who are not like me trading non-directional, that's where they're making money. All right. Thank you to all the new subscribers to my course who are loving that lesson, The Power of Three. It's really blowing people's minds. And it's exactly why I'm going into next week 9 for 9. 34.25 was the low I needed to be at above this week for me to continue on the win streak. And that's what happened. We got a very generous bounce going into the end of the week, and sure enough, it was another winning trade. So that's over 6,200 in 4 weeks. And people say, Sal, you should step up the risk a little bit here. Why not 1,200? Why not 1,500? Well, I will. You just have to find setups where the risk reward makes sense, right? Because if you tighten up the risk, your chances of losing increases, right? Your chances of losing increases. So, we don't want to lose. I don't like losing here. No system is perfect. No doubt that I will have a losing trade eventually. But we're at the point now where we're playing with the house money. So it's so important to continue the win streak now while we can. Pull up the SPX and look at the weekly candlestick. That is what you call a spinning top, ladies and gentlemen. It describes the market as indecisive regarding the continuation of our present trend, right? So when we see a spinning top candlestick, you've got to now start thinking about whether or not the market is going to start selling off here. And I really believe that sell-off into the close yesterday, Friday, 10/16, was indicative that there's really no hope for higher prices without stimulus. That 35.11 wall is no joke, right? And I seriously believe we could, possibly see, a retest of 34.50 very early next week if we don't get stimulus. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to allow these politicians to fuck up my broadcast by having me continually talk about stimulus over and over and over again, right? I was extremely hopeful that a stimulus package would be signed at this point, but it's clear that the Democrats believe that they are taking the Senate and the White House, and the polls honestly point to that. There's one thing I do know about elections is that when you hear news about record turnout, it's never good for Republicans because Republicans, aka conservatives, they vote religiously, right? I mean, they local elections, school council. I mean, these are the people that show up to city council meetings, right? They show up for jury duty, So who are all these new voters? It's disaffected Democrats from 2016 who didn't vote, immigrants, and young people, right? The overwhelming majority of these groups vote Democrat. We're traders. Please go vote. But at the end of the day, our leader is price action, and I don't really care who wins. I really don't because, I've been alive now, 4, 5 presidents, and, things around me particularly around my community, haven't changed. So I understand that it's still up to me to really do the work necessary to have the kind of life I want. So I'm not putting so much faith in whoever the next president is going to be. I know I got to do what I have to do to make things happen. This week, I did have some lack in faith. Going back to my trade, my strategy works 90% of the time, right? 9 out of 10 times you're going to win using my strategy, but I still have human emotions. I still lose faith. I still get scared. I still get anxious, right? I still, have my faith tested. And that reminds me, I want to apologize for every time that I've called, the stock market a fraud, a scam, or that it's been rigged. In fact, I did it yesterday in a tweet, and it was very irresponsible of me, because if this game is so rigged, why do I allow myself to get paid for it? Faith and belief is the underlying system, right? The underlying reason why this country, why this game that we play works. It's what allows us to get paid. And if I want to make sure this system is still here for my grandchildren, I can't be talking about the stock market like that. I've got to be expressing how incredibly transparent the market is, how inclusive it is, how incredible that, if you're a legal American citizen with a social security number, with just a cell phone, you can deposit as little as $10, $50 in a mobile app and buy stock and buy options and get paid the same day. I mean, if you're really lucky and the next business day, that stock slabs, you can earn 100%, 200% on your initial investment. You can't do that in Colombia, Guatemala, Botswana, Bangladesh. This is an incredible country, and I want to apologize. I really, really do, from the bottom of my heart, of talking like that, because that was not language that was used about the market prior to the president in office today. You will not be able to go back on YouTube before 2015-ish, 2016-ish, and hear about somebody talking about the stock market being a fraud or being a scam or being rigged. You won't hear it. All right? And that language that we have allowed to get into our mind, it has to leave. It has to leave, because we are honestly putting the system at risk by talking like that. And that's why I really want to, say, again, I'm deeply, deeply sorry for that. The stock market is not a scam, and it's an incredible vehicle of opportunity, a vehicle of wealth building, a vehicle of power creation, that if you really understand and you create a powerful system, you can change your life. This is a digital manifestation of our faith, integrity, the promise to the American man or woman that tomorrow will be better than today, right? And you can pull up the SPY, pull up QQQ, and we'll show that to you right on the chart, that America's getting better, and you can see it right on the screen. That even though we'll go through some tough times, through pandemic and war, your earnings, your lifelong earnings will be safe. That the federal government will protect your savings and ensure your continued ability to sustain what you've earned. All right. I'm not talking about our monetary system as a whole. That can switch, but we've got to still continue to believe in the full faith and democracy of this country. All right. That's not anything being rigged. That is what makes America better than any place in the world. And I'm willing to go to war for that. I'm willing to die for that. Hell, I signed up for the military, right? I really believe that. I really believe that. So with this president, that language also too will go out the window. I heard on CNBC today, they're ready to call the next decade the decade of Asia. And I laughed, because their justification was that, well, they built out 5G further than we did, and they already have, 25 to 30 million people already on 5G and blah, blah, blah. But, look, Asian people aren't Americans. They don't speak like us. They don't move like us. They don't create culture that moves the world like we do. There's nothing about Asian people, about what they do, about anything that we want to copy. Okay? There's nothing about Asian people that if you're a black, if you're a white American, that you look and say, oh, I want to do that. Maybe some of the spiritual aspects, we kind of like the way they kind of can get inward like that, right? And real introverted and real peaceful and that kind of thing. But for the most part, when we're just talking about culture, there's nothing about Asian culture we want to copy. There's nothing about the way they do clothing or the way they, play a sport, or there's nothing we want to copy. Music, nothing, right? So there's something uniquely great about us as Americans that you really don't want to bet against us. And I think it's so important for as investors that you understand there's really no better place to invest than in America and in Americans. So I'm not buying it. When Facebook gets broken up or Twitter or whatever they go after, I'm going to buy whatever pieces are left over. Same with Amazon, same with Google, same with Netflix if they go that far. Look what happened when they broke up Standard Oil. It was the most incredible opportunity to buy the pieces of Standard Oil, which will eventually become, Chevron and Exxon and many of these other oil companies that paid dividends for 50, 60, 65 years. Made a lot of families, a lot of rich, till today, paying incredible dividends to families, millions of Americans who no longer work because they had a grandparent or a great-grandparent who invested diligently, and now those families live off the dividends, right? They live off the dividends. So, ladies and gentlemen, continue to believe in the system. The system works. You just have to play it responsibly. I shared an article on Twitter on what may be causing RKT not to run. Lenders are getting more and more cautious, folks. Loan programs are drying up, and it's getting hard and harder to get a home loan. Amid all the rising layoffs and slowing growth, banks are limiting their exposure and, no longer being generous to people who have, relatively high debt to income ratios that may not be favorable to, a coming recession. We're not seeing this play out in stocks like Home Depot, HD, or Lowe's, ticker LOW, but eventually they will hit those stocks. Right now we're seeing incredible amount of growth at the higher end of the real estate spectrum, but that can't continue on forever. That's why, you're already starting to see Home Depot and Lowe's trend here. I think these are incredibly lucrative call selling, potentials here. Also possibly even looking at some puts if you can put some time on it, because I think they can really turn around here going into the winter months, early January. I think you can see Lowe's and Home Depot come off those highs. All right, a huge sell-off could be around the corner. I'm going to be watching that intently. Continue to stay long the not the money lenders, but the iPays of the world, Square, PayPal. I think they only continue to go higher going into the Christmas season, holiday season. Although I don't expect this Christmas, contrary to what people are saying, to be as impressive as before. Even this relatively recent Prime Day, I'm not hearing the same kind of, oh my God, look at what happened, hype that we heard last year or the year before. I think there are a lot of people who are sitting on their laurels and sitting on whatever money they're making, because you got a lot of people who are uncertain about their financial future. So I don't see this explosive spending that people are are betting on into this holiday season. I think it's very much a different story for a lot of Americans. I was excited to see gold back above 1900 today for a few minutes. It didn't hold. And I've told you guys, I'm really running out of patience with gold, because at this point, it's like, what the fuck? We're printing money like crazy. We can't even get 2,500 gold. With all the money we're printing, $27 trillion deficit, and we can't get $2,500 gold? I mean, are you serious? I mean, something something's not working for me here. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of MMT. I love the idea of MMT. I think MMT does exactly what people say it will do. It works forever. I mean, look at the Japanese. Those numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger, but their economy still works. But damn, why not adjust the price of gold? Are we really going to just, fast forward 10, 15, 20 years from now when the starting home price is $400,000 and we're going to still be sitting here with, $2,000 gold? That would be ridiculous. So I'm continuing to believe that the trend we started seeing, particularly in the weekly chart of gold, will finally kick back into gear, and we'll start seeing higher prices of gold. I think right now you've got to be very careful, and I'm mentally checking myself because I'm like, okay, I just want to get out of this thing. It's not going anywhere. But the trend clearly says that we're in route for higher prices. So you just gotta kind of hold back in the willingness to just want to cut and run, because we believe that there is an adjustment coming, in gold, in silver, in future days. Let's also talk real quick about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is out here looking like a champ again. I'm very back and forth when it comes to Bitcoin because I just don't understand how, it works in terms of value, right? How do you really value Bitcoin? I know how to value Amazon. I know how to value Apple, but I don't know how to value Bitcoin, right? There's no, I try to get people to explain to me how do you value Bitcoin? If the value for Bitcoin is what you think it is and what she thinks it is, divided by what I think it is, that's not something that I can stake my wealth in, right? Because you can change your opinion tomorrow. She can change your opinion tomorrow, and I'm shit out of luck, right? I need something that backs it, right? Whether it be some kind of asset that I can touch, I can feel, I can see, whether it be a software, right? Heck, even Uber. You can't touch Uber, but you can touch you can see the software working. You can see people being motivated to jump on the platform and use it to create income for themselves, which in turn creates income for Uber. I mean, you can't do that with Bitcoin. We're talking about emotions, and human emotions are the last thing you want to bet your net worth on. So I agree with people who said that only a partial percentage, right, a very small amount of your net worth should be in Bitcoin. You got people who've bet the farm on Bitcoin, and we'll see how things will turn out. Shit, I mean, again, if you've been somebody who's been in it since 2009, 2010, you've made a killing on it. I mean, you're well off the highs, but you've made a killing on it if you go back that far. But most people don't. Most people are sitting on huge losses in Bitcoin. Some people who are just gotten in it, maybe you got in at 6,000 or 7,000. You're not sitting on incredible gains. You maybe doubled your money, but I can show you stocks that are up 400, 500% since March. So we've got to be smart about where we put our money here, but I'm going to continue to watch that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited about the market next week. You're going to continue to hear more stimulus talk. You're going to continue to hear more election talk. This is an exciting time to be an American. The system works. I believe in the system, right? You need to believe in the system because there's no better system out there for all of us. There's nothing better. And don't let these communists convince you otherwise. Don't let these hardcore nationalists convince you otherwise. We live in the best system for human wealth creation that's ever been built in the history of the world. That's just the bottom line. Monday is another trading day. Trade well.